Rice Military in Houston, Texas. Everything you need to know and didn't know that you needed to know coming from a person that lived there for over 5 years and who has shown at least 300 houses there in the last 5 to 7 years. My name is Mariam Hejazi. I've been helping people buy and sell residential real estate for 13 years, and I've been loving Houston since 1987. Let's get into it. So, I have a lot to say about Rice Military, and I hope that you stick around for the entire video because if you are seriously considering Rice Military, I think that these are all the big things that you need to know, and there are a lot of pros to the neighborhood and there are some cons. And as an agent, I work really hard on giving people the full picture. I don't believe in sweeping the negatives under the rug because if it's a big enough negative for you, then truly you should look elsewhere. But Rice Military has so much to offer. So please watch the whole video. I'll try not to talk too much about it. Okay, so I'm going to get on the map and we're going to look around at a bird's eye view. But first off, as a general statement, people do not move to Rice Military for the architecture or the parking. They move to Rice Military because they want to be close to everything in the third largest city in America, ours truly, Houston, Texas. And they don't want the Camp Logan price point or the Glen Cove Crestwood price point or the River Oaks price point or the Magnolia Grove price point. They can afford a little bit more, so they're not quadranted off to Cottage Grove, which is just north of I-10. I'll get to that on the map. Cottage Grove is less expensive, but it's north of I-10. Rice Military is more expensive, but it's south of I-10. And why that's important is because I-10 is one of the widest highways, I think, in the world. And it's not super hard to cross, but it does add several minutes to one's journey at all different times of the day. So if you want to be in the loop, and you want to be in the 500 or even 450, you can find something in Rice Military now in spring of 2026 for 450. But if you want to be in the 450 to about 700 price range in the loop, I know that's a lot of money for some places, but for Houston, that's actually pretty good for in the loop being close to downtown, uptown. The West Chase is going to be a little bit of a journey depending on the time of the day, but you're close to the Richmond corridor. You're close to Montrose. You're pretty easy commute to Rice University and the medical center. Now, if you are a medical resident and you're considering Rice Military, you just need to not have to operate in that 15-minute time window. I did a separate video for medical residents moving to Houston and what you should know and what you should consider. So watch that video. Now, Rice Military, again, I said this in the opening line, it's not the most beautiful neighborhood you have ever seen, but it is extremely convenient. You can get a pretty nice house there, and there are still some trees, and there's great restaurants, and there's some parking, and you're so close to Memorial Park, but you're not going to have to spend $1 million. If you could spend upwards of 750 to $1 million, you can get over to Camp Logan, which again, I'll show you on the map. Camp Logan is significantly more expensive than Rice Military. So let's get our bearings on the map. And then once we kind of discuss the pros and cons of the area and the proximity, then I'm going to go over what type of house is available and which houses are unicorn houses and which houses leave something to be desired. So I'll see you on the map. And with the magic of technology, here we are on the map. So this is Loop 610, and Rice Military is in the loop, hence the price point, but it's still quite affordable for Houston at least. So Rice Military is right here. This portion is Rice Military. Not here, not here, and Not here. This specifically is Rice Military here. And right above I-10, like I referenced in the introduction, this is Cottage Grove. It is different than Rice Military. Cottage Grove is a little less expensive than Rice Military. This is Magnolia Grove. It is slightly more expensive than Rice Military. This is Camp Logan. This is quite a bit more expensive than Rice Military. And Crestwood and Glen Cove, lot value is in the millions, with some of the very fancy estates being upwards of 5 million. So you can see why one does not move to Rice Military for the architecture or the parking. They move here for proximity to everything. If you live in Rice Military, Memorial Park is less than 5 minutes from you. And if you live in Rice Military and you're not at Memorial Park at least 3 days a week, you are living in the neighborhood wrong. I said what I said. There are amazing restaurants up and down Westcott. Not a ton of restaurants, but my favorite one is Canyon Creek. It's a great neighborhood bar. And there's a Starbucks right here. And not that I ever go to McDonald's, but there's a McDonald's. And then there's a really nice gas station right here. And then this is the Washington Roundabout. And then my favorite El Tiempo in town is right here. Then it's easy to get out to 10 from TC Jester, back up Westcott, or you can go up to Shepherd/Durham. Now, this is a train track, and it is very noteworthy that this section is a no-blow zone. So the train, it's active, and you're going to get stuck at the train when you live in Rice Military. You cannot get around it. There are certain ways to pass it. Like there's a couple of these intersections go under or over. But if you're going to go over the tracks, just drive over them, most of these are like drive over and you'll be stuck. But this is a no-blow zone, which is very important. So you can see that the proximity to most of everything in Houston is amazing. This is Memorial/Allen Parkway. If you're in Rice Military, you can use Westcott or you can use Shepherd/Durham. You can just pop down to Memorial, and if you work downtown, truly, Memorial Drive, by some miracle of the Lord above, it's almost never backed up. I have never been in bumper-to-bumper traffic unless there's an accident on Memorial. So you can get into downtown from Rice Military in less than 10 minutes. Like, truly, it's amazing. You can Uber to everything downtown. So if you're a Dynamo fan or you're a Rockets fan, Astros fan, you can just Uber to the games and it's not going to be a crazy Uber bill. Now you're very close to River Oaks proper, and if you know anything about Houston, you'll know that River Oaks is the #1 most expensive area of Houston, and some of these estates are as much as $25 to $30 million. Look how close you are. So $700,000 doesn't seem like such a bad deal, does it? And then you can just pop down to Montrose. Some of my favorite restaurants in town are down here. I just actually had dinner at Nobi's last night. It is off of Montrose or Dunleavy. It's somewhere over here, or maybe it's just Shepherd. Amazing, amazing. I love some of the restaurants in Edo, and if you're going from Rice Military to Edo, it's actually quite easy to get through downtown around dinner time if it's not rush hour. But Rice Military, it's just situated in a perfect little area, and it's not for everyone, but if it's for you, you'll love it. And now let's kind of price compare with some areas that are close in proximity. So this is Magnolia Grove, not Rice Military. It is very similar, but it's more expensive. You're gonna pay $50,000 to $100,000 more for a similar product in Rice Military, depending on age and condition. Now, if we go just up north of I-10, so the reason Cottage Grove is not as expensive as Rice Military is because the roads are very narrow and the ditches are very deep. And if you think that Rice Military has a parking problem, you just go up to Cottage Grove and you'll come right back down to Rice Military. So if you can spend a little extra, Rice Military is definitely worth it. But if you can go up to $1 million, then you might want to look at Camp Logan. So the Heights is here, all the different sections of the Heights, and average price in Woodland Heights is going to really start at about $750, and it'll go all the way up to $3 million. So if we look at this distance, it's a different neighborhood, it's a different feel. You'll go to the same HEB probably. There's a great HEB right here that I used to go to when I lived in Rice Military. But it's a completely different neighborhood. And if you want to be in a traditional home with a yard, then maybe the Heights is perfect for you, but you are going to spend more money than you would in Rice Military. Now, the types of houses that we have in Rice Military are going to be 99% 2 to 4 story townhomes. Some of these houses are going to have rooftops. Some of them are not. Some houses will have elevators. The 3 and 4 story ones will usually have elevators, but I find that it's more rare for me to see an elevator. There are a lot more elevators, I would call it per capita, in Camp Logan. I have some theories, but I can get into that on another video. The best things in a house in Rice Military, the most sought after things, are going to be first floor living, a driveway, that's all yours, a backyard, all bedrooms on one floor, a pretty nice kitchen, a nice laundry room, great closets, hardwood floors, and a all covered or partially covered rooftop terrace if there is a rooftop. And there are some houses that have all of these things, and there are some houses that only have a portion of these things. In all of the houses that I've ever shown in Rice Military, all of the buyers I've taken through all of the houses in Rice Military, the biggest things, the biggest complaints I hear, the things that are the highest on people's list are all bedrooms on one floor. You'll see, the more houses you see in Rice Military, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes there's a bedroom on the first floor along with the garage. And then sometimes there's a bedroom on the living floor and then on the top floor. Sometimes it's a bedroom on the first floor along with the garage. And then on the third floor, there are another 2 bedrooms. And this is really hard for people with children. Now, there's not a ton of children in Rice Military, but families do live in Rice Military. And if you don't have children yet and you think that you will one day, I would highly recommend that you get all of the bedrooms on one floor. This will greatly extend the time that you can stay in this house before you may really desire a yard and like a true garage and like a front yard, backyard, or like more of a neighborhood feel, a traditional like suburban neighborhood feel. So finding all of these things in one house can be tough. They definitely exist, but just keep your eyes peeled. And usually a house that has all of these features is going to be a little bit more expensive. Another complaint, okay, so let's go through the complaints again. So all bedrooms on one floor, first floor living, and a driveway and a backyard. These are the things that buyers want in Rice Military. And so chances are, if you've made it this far in the video, you want these things too, and you really want to understand the neighborhood. So if you find something with all the things you're looking for, then you should buy the house. Parking. Let's talk parking. Because as I said in the beginning of this video, people do not move to Rice Military for the architecture or the parking. They move here for the convenience when living in Houston and the price point. So some of these communities, some of them are going to be gated and they'll have guest spots, but they will have a limited amount of guest spots. Some of these townhomes will just be on the road and there will be street parking. Some of them have no street parking. There will be no parking signs. It depends on where the street is and what type of commercial activity is around it. Now, if you live in one of these that's a gated community, you're going to have an HOA, a yearly HOA that's going to run you anywhere from $1,800 to $2,700 a year. So your guest parking does come with a yearly premium for the entirety of your ownership. So if parking is very important to you, generally these streets down here have street parking, but it's definitely first come, first served. And so just because you live on a street with street parking doesn't mean that there's always going to be a spot available. Same goes for here. This is a gated community called Casetas, and this is a much different price point than the rest of Rice Military. It is contained in Rice Military, but Casetas is much different. It has white stucco, some of them are 5 stories tall, and they're generally more expensive. Now this is Washington Avenue. We haven't talked about this yet, so let's get into this. Washington Avenue used to be lined with bars, and it was like between about 2004 and 2020 probably, there were a lot of bars, and I would say peak Washington was probably 2014, 2013-ish, and it was very popular. I mean, I hung out in Washington with all of my friends, but since then, the bar traffic has dwindled. It is not as bar-y as it used to be. I do think that if you value peace and tranquility, that you need to be at least 2 blocks off of Washington, unless your blocks are longer, like we see here. If your blocks are longer like these, 1 will suffice, but if your blocks are shorter like these, then 2, really. Washington has changed. I feel like it has increased in quality and it has decreased in chaos. And generally the bar traffic started about here and went all the way down here, but it is not what it used to be. There are places like El Tiempo, there are breweries. Some of these bars are being repurposed into a little bit more laid back concepts. It's just not as chaotic as it used to be. There are some good Thai places, there's some good ramen up and down Washington. So it's a different vibe than it was if the last time you visited was 2005 or 2015. I promise you should drive it. Now, the HEB that you're likely going to be going to if you live in Rice Military, you're going to be going to the Heights Boulevard HEB. The parking is crazy, but it's a nice HEB, and I frequented this store for 5 years, and I actually miss this HEB. Truth Barbecue, very, very popular. They sell out of barbecue almost every day. Now, as we go closer into downtown, these are much older homes. So this area is really not comparable to Rice Military. This is a historic area, so you're gonna have tiny little bungalows that were built pre-World War II. So again, Rice Military is the subject of this video. So there is a lot to be offered in Rice Military, but if parking is a huge issue to you, it just depends on like what exactly your townhome setup is. If you don't want to be in a very busy area, it does not feel super busy between Washington and Memorial. Like the further away you get from Washington, the more tranquil it usually is, but like down here, it's pretty chill. And then like right here, it's pretty chill also. There's a Walgreens right here. It's very convenient to live here. And then as compared with Rice Military, Camp Logan, what they have that Rice Military does not, but you definitely pay for it, is they have, this is a public park, and there's a lot of street parking here. And then you can truly just walk into Memorial Park, which is amazing. Because if you haven't been here before and you're learning through my video, then yay. But you need to know that this street and this portion of the street are very busy. People drive very fast, myself perhaps included, is very busy. If you want to cross the street, they put in a crosswalk at Blossom, but it's sort of still new and people are not very used to the traffic patterns, so people could very easily blow through that. So if Memorial Park is very important to you and you definitely want to only walk there, then you could live over here. But in Camp Logan, it's much more expensive than in Rice Military. If you start in Rice Military, you can just hop in the car, and I promise you it is less than 5 minutes for you to find a parking spot. And if you reach out, I'll tell you the secret free parking areas of Memorial Park. So Rice Military, it's a wonderful area, especially if price is important to you and you want a little bit more elbow room, but you still want to kind of like ball on a budget sort of, then Rice Military is a very, very good option. Now, if you don't want to spend as much, there are some very budget-friendly options in Rice Military, but Cottage Grove is a little less expensive than Rice Military for proximity reasons. But since I've been in the business, Cottage Grove has gone up in price. So just keep that in mind. If enough time goes by, the prices will be where Rice Military is, and Rice Military will be above that. So I hope that this was helpful to you. If you have any specific questions that I didn't cover, leave me a comment or reach out via email, and I'm happy to answer in the best way that I know how. And again, my name's Mariam Hejazi. I've been helping people buy and sell residential real estate for 13 years, and I've been loving Houston since 1987. I shall see you on the next one. Bye.